Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Maverick here, and we are ready for another episode of Steins Gate 0. So, last episode, as emotional as it was, and, as a big Kurisu slash Okabe pairing fan, that did indeed please me very, very much. However, even with all that being said, as I mentioned, I was kind of being distracted by the fact that I was trying to figure out what exactly happened at the very end there, what kind of situation were they under, why were they able to actually undo what happened in this shift in timeline and go back to the beta timeline, right? So, thanks to all of you guys, you did mention one very important thing, which I guess I kind of completely overlooked, right? So, last episode, I was really too focused on looking and seeing if there was any discrepancy between the original episode 22 of the original Steins Gate versus what happened in the last episode, episode 8, that I failed to consider the fact that because there are different timelines, probably things happened a little bit differently, right? So in the beta timeline, Kurisu basically was late in entering the lab, whereas in the alpha timeline here, Kurisu was early in entering the lab and managed to stop Okabe before he pressed the button and reset the entire timeline and went to the beta timeline, right? So, yeah, I totally... actually, I'm not sure. Is this something that is more explicitly mentioned in the light novel, or... I mean, sorry, not the light novel, the visual novel or something? Because... Or maybe I'm just being a little bit too fixated on what originally happened, because I would have not thought of this kind of discrepancy. I seriously just thought, hey, isn't this the exact thing that happened? What exactly changed here, right? But anyways, that's beside the point here. I feel like a much more important point is in the fact that this actually represents a change, an ever so slight change in personality in regards to both Okabe and Kurisu. And more specifically on Kurisu, right? Because up until now, throughout all the different variations that we've already seen, right? Not necessarily in chronological order, but through all the stuff that we've seen so far. One of the things that was consistent was that both Kurisu and Okabe were pretty intent on going to a timeline that saves Mayuri, right? That is something that they both agree on and they both are willing to do and they both want to do. And in fact, that's probably one of the reasons why they fit each other so well as well, right? So, but here, what this implies is instead that Kurisu is actually making the more selfish choice, I guess you could say. Not that I'm putting her down in any way, but instead choosing to say, no, I want to live with you, Okabe, choose me, and so on and so forth, right? And I feel like this kind of, I don't know, it just kind of feels weird and funny to me, and I don't mean funny in a humorous way, I mean funny as in a weird way. But yeah, I guess that's just how it is now, right? So obviously something happened that caused her to have a change in mind between these two timelines. And beyond this, Iselian, I believe that's how you say your name. You mentioned that one thing that you felt was not explained properly was what exactly did the whichever party was doing the timeline, time travel or whatnot, what they actually did in order to make Kurisu actually enter the lab a little bit earlier in time to stop Okabe from completely changing the timelines over, right? I would like to know as well, but I feel like that's kind of related to my question. Like, I'm not specifically that interested in what caused her to enter early, but it's more of a what caused her attitude to change. I think that is the real question here. And indeed, it's not the fact that I want to know the specific thing. It's that I want to know how why her attitude had such a shift between these timelines. So, will we get that or not? I don't know. But anyways, that's pretty much what I have to say for that last episode. And then again, since this is not, I guess technically this is not the original way that the alpha timeline was supposed to go, and I guess that is why there's this discrepancy, because they did not undo the exact thing that caused the timeline to shift, right? And so that is why, even though that is still one of the major turning points to shift timelines, we are not at the exact same timeline that Okabe left, right? Okabe left at, I believe, 1.13, we are currently in 1.09, or vice versa, but basically a little bit different, right? So I wonder if that's actually going to make a very noticeable and discernible difference, and I guess we should just find out right here. Alrighty, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, so this is because it's a D-mail, right? So it's the exact same day. So now he's in the hospital? Question mark. Well, all right. Let me skip. I just felt like it's kind of funny that the last thing she thought of was Kurisu, but the name he was saying was Mayuri. I don't know. It's kind of funny to me. All right, let me skip this real quick. And back. Nakase? No. Okay. Oh. You have a traitor. It's internal. Oh, shh. What? What? Oh, merging the timelines? Okay. Yeah. Hmm. And by the way, in regards to Fubuki, all right, hold that thought. Had a dream. Ah, so the In her timeline. Uh, I was gonna talk about, Fubuki last episode with Fubuki acting like she saw Okabe for the first time. Like, I still don't see a good explanation for that, especially because in the beginning of the episode, they clearly see all of them playing together in that timeline. But I guess it's not important. Maybe. Wait. Why do you have those stamps? Or stickers? You guys... These two are just like... Okay. Why do you have that sticker? To the rest of the people, this must like, look, they come here and then they stare at their phones for a while and then they leave. That is funny. Oh, staying with Eris? I love you, Ferris. Oh yeah, I almost completely forgot about this part with Kakari. They still need to like kind of... Oh man. This would work. This would definitely work very well in an RPG exploration kind of setting. Mystery solving, right? Like, which clue to go through first? Mm. 世界線は変動したのか。ここはもう以前とは違う世界線なの。大丈夫だ。俺たちは以前のままの世界線にいる。 Hey, Russia and America's yeah.
そのせいで世界線が変動してシュタインズゲートへの道が閉ざされたら、もう閉ざされてるとしたら、どちらかの世界線を選ぶしかないのだとしたら、
You know, the funny thing is,
なかったことにしていいのか。うるさい。
the funny thing is, even the other, like, I'm not really phased by this because, I mean, come on, it's Okabe.
次は当てる。願い。
Like the alternate universe that Suzuha is intent on going to doesn't really end all that well either. Except for the steinsgate one, right?
だからって今の世界線のままでいいの？第三次世界大戦が起きてたくさんの人が死ぬ。何も回避できない。それがこの世界線なんだ。今より状況が悪くなったらどうする？それは世界線移動を繰り返した末、さらに絶望的な未来しか待っていない世界線にたどり着いたらどうする？
That is true, you know. Although, I guess in this, I mean, I'm kind of curious if instead Okabe, okay, let's say that both Mayuri, okay, let's say instead of Okabe, it's Mayuri that would die in 2036 with World War III. I wonder if I wonder what Okabe's decision would be at that point, right? I feel like that's kind of an interesting thought experiment. Like, would he still say, well, at least we still have 25, 26 years? Because I don't know, man. It's not like you're not part of this world either. What? Oh. Okay. He's going crazy now. He's hearing voices inside his head.
ってくださいなら。
この前の話の続きを。
マジか。
はい。
な、あれだけじゃ何もわからねえよ。
そのフォネティックコードを使っている組織というだけでもいい。
西側ってだけで
うん
5万とある。ただな、公に名前が出ているようなところがあんな連中を送る。
The funny thing is now there's actually. No, I just realized there's actually three powers now, right? There's America and Russia, which I already suspected of, but CERN is still a force as well.
そこまで言わせるのかよ。おめえが知っといて俺に損はねえしな。おめえのこの前の話が全部本当だと仮定した上で考えると。
Oh. DARPA? From the US?
アメリカの民シンクタンク CIA 町の大規模テロロシアのタイムマシン開発の中鉢博士の論文
Yeah.
この情報をつかんだアメリカはデータを求めてマキセクリスにたどり着いた。
でもビクトル・コンドリア大学の研究施設はその気になればいくらでも調べられるはずじゃない？わざわざここまで来た理由は？
ラボを襲撃した時はカガリが狙った。カガリが未来から来た。彼女が乗ってきたタイムマシンを探している。
仮にそうだとしても
Yeah, he's going loco.
タイムマシン開発が未来のタイムマシンをもとに行われれば強力なタイムパラドックスが発生する。実現はしない。真帆さんのお部屋に泥棒さんが。和光のオフィスではガス爆発騒ぎがあって。
そういうことか。
ああ、いつか必ずオカリンは僕らの先頭に立って指揮を取ってくれるって信じてるんだよ。
今何時？
もうすぐ日付が変わるよ。
かな。
Yeah, in the future.
その時が同時に法王院京馬も復活するわけ。不死鳥の名は伊達じゃない的な、中二病オツ的な。だって未来ガジェット研究所はオカリンがいてこそだから。
Mm.
おさん、すごく恥ずかしいこと言って。
Ah, come on, Suzuha. You're also one of the lab members.
オカリンには口が裂けても言えない。
私、手紙を書くよ。
Aw,
あかりんおじさんにごめんなさいっていう。
some nice father-daughter bonding time.
いと思われ。ついでにパパにも手紙プリーズ。できれば写真付きで。
気が向いたらね。
何その絶望感しかないレス。
だってそんなことしている時間はもうないもん。
ロシアがタイムマシンの実験を始めたから。
それもあるけど、もう燃料がね。
ん？
サガリ探すので何度もタイムマシン使っちゃったから。
他の電池で代用できないの？
前にルミ姉さんにトラックとかに積まれている電池持ってきてもらったけど、一瞬で切れちゃった。
あと何回ぐらい飛べる？
半年の間、誰かに。
もし途中で電池が切れたら？
制御を失い、イベントホライゾンの向こうから永久に戻ってこられないとか。
縁起でもないこと言ったらダメだ。
Then maybe you shouldn't have used it to search for Agari that much. Just saying.
でも、そこってどんな場所なのかな。今みたいに静かな時間が永遠に続くのかな。いいな。
Well, if you want that, you could. Ah, never mind. That's a little bit too harsh.
どういうことだこのさ。
なかなか居心地のいい空間だと思うけど、
まだ一日だろう。
出歩くのが危険なんだから、ここで研究ないでしょ。より何？
いや、
理論のミスが。
ああ、連中の狙いはおそらくその研究、もしくはアマデウスの中にあるクリスの理論。心当たりはないか。例えばクリスの論文のメモやスタンドアローンのデータ、それがあるとしたら襲撃してきた理由も説明できる。
I guess the laptop, right? The locked laptop. Yep. Of course. Yeah. Carice's laptop. I figured as much. And then they're gonna have to play guess the password, right? Alright. We'll see you guys after this. Alrighty, so in this episode, we finally get the reveal of who the actual antagonist of this series is. And so, indeed, it is the Russians and the Americans. Now, since I made the blunder earlier in regards to Kurisu and her email and how it affected the alpha and beta timelines, this one, I'm gonna take some, props for this one. So let me allow myself to pat myself on the back for a little bit, right? Yeah, but anyways, so indeed it is the Americans versus the Russians, and we also get some more references in regards to, I guess, real life stuff. Specifically here we have DARPA, right? So they spell it with a U here, change it around with an A, and we get the DARPA, the sort of the main R&D center or institute for the United States Armed Forces. Now, I am a kind of a military nerd, actually, so this actually is kind of up my alley. At least for DARPA, I do know kind of what they've been doing in the recent years, right? Just as a bit of trivia, they're mostly known for, well, they're mostly known nowadays for developing drones and stuff. At least that's what I believe their focus is currently on. There was this big project a while back where they collaborated with Boston Dynamics to create a humanoid robot. I believe it's called Atlas, something like that. Anyways, and Boston Dynamics got a lot of views on YouTube for their robot, and it was kind of viral for a kind of while as well, right? And I do believe that early on they were funded by DARPA to create these sort of control systems, and that ties in with what DARPA is currently working on in real life as well. Mostly drones, unmanned vehicles, strike drones, surveillance drones, and also other robotics that are maybe even smaller, such as insect-sized drones for surveillance purposes and that kind of stuff. At least I believe that's what their focus has been for the recent years, and potentially some space-based weaponry as well. They're probably also most well known for funding the Tor project, the Tor network, which is how you access the deep web and whatnot. So that is mostly their claim to fame in the public eyes, right? So I did like that kind of reference over there. As for Stratfor, I'll be honest, I have no idea who they were. I did look them up. They do actually exist, and they're sort of their title of the secret CIA was given to them, although that was like years ago and just by one, I guess, publication, media source or whatnot. Honestly, I guess props to the author for doing his or the production team doing their research to find this kind of think tank. I don't know. Perhaps they are as secretive and as influential as they claim. But personally, if you ask me who the intersection between private think tanks and military policy or national security, and also with foreign policy, geopolitical stuff at the same time, I would probably answer the Rand Corporation, right? They are a very big global think tank, actually, that does a lot of contract work for the United States government and the United States Armed Forces as well. And this is their specialty. Well, I guess you can't really say their specialty. They have lots of varied specialties, but they definitely do a lot of geopolitical stuff, foreign policy stuff, anti-terrorism stuff in recent years. So, hey, I guess they wanted to avoid, calling out such a big organization. Although, if you're already gonna call out CERN and DARPA, why not, just go all the way, right? So, whatever. And since we do have DARPA here, I do kind of wonder if we're also going to see the Russian equivalent as well, the FPI, the Foundation for Russian. Basically, it's the equivalent of DARPA in Russia. It's basically a sort of institute for R&D purposes, right? Basically, the Russian equivalent of DARPA, FPI. And so yeah, that is that. Although that entire scene kind of also, I don't know, it kind of felt like it was jumping back and forth. I'm not really sure how the progression of events eventually led to him making out it was Kurisu, right? Like, so he searched for DARPA, and then so he eventually for some reason then researched into this think tank, Stratford or whatever it's called, and then eventually link it back to what the Russians are doing in terms of their time machine, and then making the connection between Kurisu's father and Kurisu, and then he's facing that and saying that the Americans or the United States Armed Forces or whatnot are after Kurisu. I don't know. The logic leap there is, or rather, not the logic leap, I should say, but how exactly he's discerning this from this kind of connection. I don't know. Is it like he literally went to Stratford, which is a think tank that has publications, and then in there he's searching on, like, I don't know, Russian military development or something, and then he found out that, okay, the leading scientist there is Kurisu's dad, and then I don't know. Kind of, I'm not quite sure how he arrived at the conclusion. Let's just put it at that. And so, okay, fine. In the end, I guess what they're trying to structure here is that the Russians have Kurisu's dad, and so the Americans are trying to get Kurisu to even the playing field, if you will. But the thing here is, I know, because if you were to ask me who I believe are the real culprits behind this, I would actually answer the Russians. And the reason for this is, so, okay, obviously Victor Kondria University and, the professors and Kurisu, they were originally in the United States, right? I believe that's how the story goes. But the thing is, though, Professor Alexis, Victor, these names sound so Russian to me, right? Maybe it's just my personal bias speaking, but I don't know, man. When I look at those names, I'm instantly thinking, okay, they maybe have some sort of other connection with the Russians, and even a code name as well, right? Where Mr. Braun said look into DARPA because of this kind of code name. It's K and then 6,000 something, right? I forgot the exact numbers at the very end, but it started with the prefix of K. Honestly, I feel like K is used a lot more in Russian code names than it is in American or NATO ones. So, I don't know, man. We're still very early on in the story. There's still potential for there to be another twist in this as well. But I'm saying the Americans would probably not be my very first thought in regards to who was actually behind the attack and whatnot. Although, I guess to be fair, Judy is a pretty American name, right? So, whatever. And of course, they would also be most well suited to actually accessing Amadeus and all that. It's just that I don't know. For some reason, there's this voice in the back of my head that's telling me, look out for the opportunity of them there potentially being a double agent or a double cross situation from here, because somehow I just have this gut feeling that things aren't as simple as they seem. So Whatever. So I guess that wasn't really that much of a discussion. It was more like a trivia for you guys. I do like to do this in lots of my different series as well, if I don't have anything particular to talk about in regards to more theories for the particular episode at hand. So there you go. And I do recommend looking at some of the publications by Rand Corporation, by the way. They offer some pretty they got some pretty nice public info available. So if you are sort of like a nerd in regards to geopolitics or in regards to military doctrine or that kind of stuff, they got a lot of free stuff available online that might tickle your fantasy. So next part I want to talk about is in regards to the entire scene between Okabe and Suzuha on the roof, right? Now, so for this one, let's talk about it in there's two different aspects I want to mention. One I already mentioned during the episode, and that is the sort of thought experiment as to, what would Okabe's actions actually be if, say for instead, in the future, in 2036, it's not that Okabe died and Mayuri is still alive, but instead it's the reverse. Let's say Mayuri, due to the World War III breaking out, she died early on, and now Okabe is leading the resistance in Tokyo or something like that, right? I wonder if that would compel Okabe to change his decision and try to change the future somehow, right? I'm just saying. I feel like that's an interesting thought experiment there as well. Like, is he going to still hold on to, okay, let's just take the natural course of things, or does he want to maybe somehow try and change fate again in order to ensure Mayuri's safety in the future? Because that's not really that far off, right? That's like 25 years later. So yeah, by that time they're like what, 40 something? That's still fairly early, right? So I just, let me know what you guys think Okabe would do in this situation. Would he actually change? I personally think that he will actually. He would definitely not be as determined to not tempt fate anymore. So, anyways, that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of this is, with this episode, and especially with that scene, I think I kind of sort of understand why people would recommend watching in chronological order. And first of all, before any of you guys start coming up in arms and whatnot, look, I'm not going to be opening this sort of let's not turn this into sort of a fight, right? Because I feel like this is one of the stupidest things to actually fight about. You can watch it whichever way you want, but I'm just saying that due to this being in this kind of order, we already know what's going to happen in the end. So really, that scene had absolutely no tension at all, I feel. If it's anyone other than Okabe, maybe. Like, if it was Maho there, then there would be some real tension there, because we don't know what's going to happen, right? In this case, however, like, Suzuha pointing a gun at Okabe, I'm just like, there's nothing going to happen here, right? It's not like she can actually, beyond the fact that, she's one of Okabe's companions. Even if it was one of the bad guys pointing a gun at Okabe, I'd be like, so what? Everything's gonna turn out fine in the end, right? So, yeah, I feel like it definitely does sort of have this kind of tension issue. Although, of course, at the same time, if you really sort of meta think about it, Okabe is the main character, there's no way he's gonna die prematurely, right? And I guess some of you could argue that the process is more important, right? But I'm just saying that I feel like a large part of why that tension was completely not there, and I basically was, I had pretty much no reaction to that scene as I was thinking about other stuff, is because, well, we know there's no real threat, right? And I feel like in previous episodes, sorry that I forgot your name, but someone also mentioned in regards to the the scene with the armed men, right? Not really having much tension and whatnot, and I feel like that's also part of the reason as well, since we do know in the very end what's going to happen. So I feel like really the tension is pretty much impossible to structure in this kind of scenario. Do you guys think so as well? Yeah. Nah. At least that's what I think right now. Anyways, I'm not advocating that we should be watching chronological order, but I feel like this is just a unfortunate consequence of releasing the episodes, releasing the series in this kind of fashion. Alright. And so okay, this has been going on a little bit longer than I wanted, but I guess one last point I want to mention is in regards to the laptop, right? So again, indeed, that is Karisu's laptop, and I guess the answers lie within that laptop, right? So I do presume that in the upcoming episodes, we're gonna have to find a way to crack that laptop. Now, my first thought when I saw that was perhaps the password is my fork, my spoon, or something similar to that. It's definitely not anything Okabe related because she did not meet Okabe yet. So, either probably we would have 3 different routes we can choose, right? One is Okabe plays detective and then tries to piece together what exactly Karisu would be thinking, all like nearly a year ago. Second of all, they might be using Amadeus Karisu to sort of ask her what the password is, in a way, maybe get the answers out from her. And then finally, and the one I think most improbable, is to use time travel to go back and find out the answer, right? And this one I think is the most improbable because Okabe still seems very hell-bent on not using any time travel here. So, But anyways, just one quick final note in regards to the things that happened this episode. So yeah, there we go. That's my review for episode 9. Hope you guys enjoyed this. In regards to discussion points, I'd love to know your thoughts, you guys' thoughts as well. Do let me know. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, bye bye.